For many people, chivalry evokes at best a certain respect tinged with romanticism, a historical curiosity, but also quite often an amusement not devoid of mockery for what would appear today to be an outdated institution, mostly a matter of honorific distinction or a product made in Hollywood, from Star Wars to Game of Thrones. And this, my friend, is when chivalry isn't equated purely and simply with these sectarian groups, Neo-Templar occultists or New Age pseudo-chivalries. All these groups, unfortunately, claiming to trace their roots in our noble institution. And even if one was to grasp, more or less confusedly, that chivalry goes beyond all of this, the question remains as to why should one decide to be a knight today, when objectively Catholic associations and movements exist and do the immense and necessary work. Is it possible to imagine an articulation between chivalry and these movements? Saint Pius X provides an answer to this question. In Our Apostolic Mandate, he wrote, and I quote, "The city cannot be built otherwise than as God has built it. Society cannot be set up unless the Church lays the foundations and supervises the work. No, civilization is not something yet to be found, nor is the new city to be built on hazy notions. It has been in existence and still is. It is Christian civilization. It is the Catholic city. It has only to be set up and restored continually against the unremitting attacks of insane dreamers, rebels, and miscreants. Omnia instaurare in Christo." It is clear then that to want Christ the King is to want the restoration of Christian civilization, the restoration of the Catholic city. But to want the restoration of the Catholic city also implies to want the restoration of the institutions of Christianity that enabled it to be built and ensured its continuity, its survival. Amongst these institutions of Christianity is chivalry. More on this later. Every institution of Christianity traditionally has 5 main characteristics. Excellence, first of all. They are the best means of achieving the end that the Church has given them. Secondly, durability, since by definition they are the best means of achieving the end given to them by the Church, they are destined to remain stable over time. Universality, excellent and enduring, they are intended to apply everywhere. Fourth, mandate. These Christian institutions confer on their members an official mission from the Church to accomplish what is assigned to each institution concerned. Finally, graces. This Church mandate is accompanied by graces proportionate to the mission entrusted. The mission of chivalry as an institution of Christianity is specifically to build, promote, and protect Christianity. the ritual of dubbing confers both mandate and graces to do so. But what does dubbing exactly refers to? Dubbing is a sacramental that many have called, admittedly in an inappropriate way, the eighth sacrament. This sacramental creates the night. Consequently, for any militant lay Catholic, becoming a knight is not a question of love or history or a more or less outdated romantic impulse, but rather a question of integral coherence. Integral coherence because when a militant Catholic wants to establish the Catholic city, he necessarily wants its Christian institutions. And acting specifically to promote and protect Christianity, he necessarily wants to be part of the institution of chivalry, whose very mission it is, as he necessarily wants the graces associated with him belonging to this institution. But then, what about Catholic movements and associations? The answer is simple. Catholic action has to continue today within the obvious framework of movements and associations which occupy the cultural, political, and social fields, and today they are the vehicle for every Catholic endeavor in the city. Consequently, it is not a question here of choosing between chivalry and movements or of discussing their respective merits and places, but of combining these affiliations in a common and organic impetus, in a coherent and integral whole. As I said, chivalry has been mocked, sometimes ridiculed, all too often described as useless. But it has been mocked no more and no less than Christianity itself, of which it is an essential institution. And it has been mocked precisely because it is Christian, as it is essential to Christianity. We must realize that it is mocked and ridiculed by the same people who tell us all day long that we Catholics are ridiculous, useless, and outdated, by the same people who rejoice in the destruction of the throne, the Christian monarchy, this other institution of Christianity, which in their eyes is an absurd, infantile, and outdated idea, by the same people who would ardently like to see, to witness the destruction of the altar, faith and dogmas being to them a kind of superstition for primitive brains, favoring wars and calling for blood. So much so that mocking Christianity and mocking chivalry are one and the same thing, and that consequently rebuilding the Catholic city cannot be done without rebuilding chivalry itself, in order, as Saint Pius X asked us, to work to restore everything in Christ, omnia instaurare in Christo.